كشتن ظلام مداري جابي مكشت ومأتيم وخزوريم جي وسهر ودوان دقيقة عدد وخصام ودشام جين هل دستي عندنا جابي وان الجناب وجنش خرب.
Welcome back to the Arena. I'm Michael Corrin. It is hard to believe, but ISIS have issued a pamphlet, a sort of pamphlet, a guide to how to treat the women they have captured as sex slaves. I mean, I know it does defy belief, but this is no joking matter, especially for the poor victims of these barbarians. Afar Khan is a questioning Muslim. He joins us now from Ottawa. Please tell me that this is completely contrary to Islamic teaching and these people are scandalizing their faith?
Well, sorry, Michael, I can't tell you that, unfortunately. This was a pamphlet released earlier this month, basically outlining every question a perverted jihadi could have, and then going on to answer those questions as every perverted jihadi leader would answer them. And you know, it's one thing when, for example, a kid in Canada, a young teenager, goes to a strip club or hires a prostitute for the first time, something like that. A lot of them tend to feel a sense of remorse, feel that, okay, you know what, I'm doing this, but I feel bad about it. It's the wrong thing to do, okay? The thing with these people is that even if they have some sort of remorse or they feel this is the wrong thing to do, their religion and their immediate religious leaders keep telling them that this is from God. And to a certain extent, it is, because you can find it in the Quran and the Hadith. And I have a clip here that shows just how giddy, just how overwhelmed with excitement, like kids in a candy shop, these jihadis are about this whole idea of sex slaves.
ايش تبون؟ اليوم سوق السبايا، اليوم سوق وما ملكت ايمانكم، اليوم التوزيع. باذن الله عز وجل، كلنا نصيب. والله يا رجل انا ادور ان شاء الله يعني واحد يهدي لي وحده. ابو فؤاد اليوم سوق السبايا لازم ناخذ. يا ولد زيديتي وين؟ اذا كانت عمرها لازم نشوفها انت لازم نقلبها نقو يعني نقو سنون خمسة العشير سنون ما لها سنون شرد فيها حط لها طخن هذه شغل.
But I thought they're salivating morons, they're barbaric thugs, they're also playing to the camera. Part of what ISIS does is to try and provoke the West.
Yeah.
You know as well as I, you know better than I do, that millions, hundreds of millions of Muslims who love their Quran and love their God and love their Prophet would never act in such a way. Aren't texts that were written a long time ago open to interpretation, and ignorant people, malicious people sometimes like these can be manipulated? Absolutely.
And, you know, a lot of Muslims would use their religion to say, this is the reason why I don't do these things, right? So, of course, that point needs to be made. And, but the problem is when people ignore what it does say in their religion, right? So if I'm a young Salafi youth and my imams are telling me these things, okay, and they never repudiate them, which they never seem to do, moderate imams I'm talking about, and they say things like, you know, sex with slaves is allowed in Islam, but that was a long time ago, we don't really do that anymore. That's not a real sort of a solution to the problem, right? And here's an example. There's another clip of Dr. Zakir Naik. This is a world-renowned, well-respected, even respected in the diaspora, Muslim imam, who this is what passes for a moderate preacher nowadays.
There are many verses in the Quran which says that you can have sex with whom those are your wife and what your right hand possesses. Right hand possesses means they were the slaves, and at the time of the Prophet, the wars used to take place, and when wars used to take place, they were captives. When they were captive from both the sides, the men and the women, they became slaves. Vice versa is not possible. It is only for the female women slaves that the man can have sex. The Quran doesn't say the vice versa.
And his mastery of the English language is extraordinary. Okay, there are people like this. I don't know this man. I do know a little about the history of Islam and certainly the history of the Arab world. There have been prisoner exchanges. There have been cases even between Israel and the Arab states going back to 1948 where prisoners, women, have been treated with respect. I don't want to play that game of saying this isn't true, this is true, and it's hideous, but nor do I want to play the game of generalizing. And you know as well as I do that certainly the Old Testament, for example, is open to interpretation. The difference there is I don't know anyone who interprets it today or for a very long time as instructing followers to take people as slaves.
Exactly. And that's the point, right? That's the difference. That nowadays you see so many imams. Like, I think it's not so much giving you the right answer, but asking the right questions, right? So, for example, why is it that there's so many imams that don't outright repudiate slavery and outright repudiate hitting your wife lightly or a whole sorts of other sort of pernicious backward beliefs and teachings in Islam? Why is it that I find even university graduates in Canada, for example, that will say the most barbaric things and then they'll attribute it to their religion and that's their justification? Why are there so many people, not everyone, but why are there so many people in this day and age that are saying this stuff? Those are the questions that need to be asked and they need to be responded to.
I think you make a very good point. There is a fundamental question here about the power dynamic between the genders in Islam. And I do know Orthodox Muslims who are very gentle people who have a loving relationship with their wife and their daughters, but whilst they would never be violent, that they do assume, it's almost self-evident to them, that they are in absolute authority. Now, it could be argued that that was a Christian manner of living one's family life 100 years ago. It has to change, it has to evolve in a civilized pluralistic society. I mean, and this debate is far from over. As always, a great pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Facebook.com, Michael Corrin, Sun News Network. Very active these days, I've seen. A lot of your comments. We want as many as you want to give us. We want to hear your opinion. And you can go to Twitter and email us.